Claire here from Wrangle, and in this video I'm going to walk you through how to submit a Wrangle workflow and track your request from start to finish. Wrangle is an app that helps teams design and automate recurring approval and ticketing workflows all within Slack. First, let's talk about how to actually start your request. Anywhere that you can type in Slack, enter /Wrangle. And that will open the Slack shortcuts menu and start a search for Wrangle. This first option that we see here, that start a workflow with Wrangle, this is what we're going to use. But before I click on it, I'm going to show you a couple other ways that you can find us as well. You can also, instead of using the / command, you can just click on the plus sign here in Slack in order to open that shortcut menu and again search for Wrangle. And then finally, you can also use the search bar at the top of Slack to search for Wrangle. You can also search for workflow, and we should be pretty close to the top either way. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that start a workflow, and then next I have this modal asking me which workflow I want to start. The list of workflows I have here is going to be unique to my workspace. The list of workflows that you'll see are going to be unique to yours, but for the sake of this video, we are going to start off with this new customer contract workflow. I'll click Start Workflow to begin. And next up, I see my intake form. This is a sampling of the types of questions you can expect to see in your intake form, but you may see any combination of short answer, long answer, multiple choice, date, number, select a person, select multiple people, and then finally select a Slack channel. Something else you might see is the option to upload a file. When that happens, you'll be directed to our web app to fill that out. Otherwise, if there's no file question, your intake form will be totally in Slack. Once we've submitted, one of two things might happen depending on A, the channels that you belong to in Slack, and B, how the workflow was set up. If you belong to the channel where the workflow is set to post, in this case, I have this going to this training channel, and I am also in this training channel, so I do see new posts coming in from Wrangle. Here in the channel, I can see the instance name, which is our workflow name, plus the customer name Acme. I can also see that I'm the one who submitted it, that it's currently in progress, and that the current step is a legal review approval step. And that status and current step will update as the workflow progresses, so you'll always have an up-to-date view of the workflow in the channel. I can either click into that thread from here, or I'll also get a notification in my threads letting me know that the workflow has begun. So if I'm not actually in the training channel when I submit the workflow, I'll still be able to easily find the thread from up here. If I open up that thread, here we go. I've got the details from my intake form, and I can also see what's happening next. Another thing that could happen if you don't belong to the channel where your workflow gets posted, and if your team has it set up to DM you updates instead of in the channel, then you might instead expect to see updates from the Wrangle app in your messages tab. This workflow that I'm looking at is going to a public channel that I also belong to, so I've got that update in my threads. And I can also see what's happening next. So next up, I can see that we are in legal review. So somebody needs to sign off from our legal team before this can move on to the next stage. I can also see, because my team has set up due dates on this workflow, I can see that I can expect an update by tomorrow. So if your workflow that you've submitted also has due dates, then you'll see about how much time your team will need in order to finish each step of the workflow. So I'm going to move out of this channel for a minute. You can imagine most workflows aren't going to be completed immediately, so you're probably going to be doing work in other parts of Slack once your workflow actually moves on to the next stage. So let's say I'm in this other channel and somebody from our legal team goes ahead and approves my workflow. Now I can see I've got a new update in my threads letting me know, just like if somebody had mentioned me or commented in a thread that I commented in earlier, I'm going to see that update coming in here again. So now I can see the next steps, and these are actually assigned to me. Now, in your workflow, you may not actually need to do anything else after you submitted the intake form, or you may be responsible for a later step. So I'm showing you what it looks like when that is the case. In this case, I have been assigned these two new steps here, and these are part of the e-sign steps of this contract management workflow. So I know that once I've got legal approval, then I know that I've got to prep my e-sign, send it to the customer, and then once I get the ratified contract back, then I need to upload it to the CRM. So I, as the assignee, will now click on these to mark them as done. And now my request has completed all steps in the workflow. So in this case, no further action is needed from me nor from anyone else. Your workflow may be as simple as just one step, or it could be as complex as having multiple steps. But either way, you can come back either to this thread to see what's happening next, or you can also go to the Wrangle app here. If you don't see this in your left sidebar, you can open this apps section and search for Wrangle. And then over here on the right, I've got this toggle that currently for me says my workflows, but if I change this over to my approvals and tasks, then I can actually see all of the tasks I made, all the tasks to do, approvals I made, and approvals to do. This view is totally unique to each person in your workspace, so truly all the tasks and approvals you'll see here will be specific to you. So if I want to see, for example, any tasks I made and that I'm waiting on, I can go to this tasks I made filter, and here we go. We've got that e-sign steps right there at the top of my list here. I can click on this and it'll take me straight to that task list of everything that I completed. Same thing goes for approvals I made. I can also click on the approval and it'll route me into the approval step of the corresponding workflow instance. So you can imagine if you've got a lot of requests going at once and you want to see what's going on, but you're having trouble tracking them down in your threads, maybe you've got a lot of these, maybe your threads are also pretty busy with some other conversations happening in Slack, you can instead come to Wrangle and look at the tasks I made and approvals I made to see the status of your requests. Something else you can do in this more options is you can change the status so you can see things that have been completed versus things that are in progress. You can narrow it down by channel. So if you know that there are a number of different channels that your requests are going to and you want to focus on the ones that are happening in the training channel, you can narrow it down that way. You can also do things like filter by whether or not you've taken action yet. So that's how to look up any requests that you've created. If you have been assigned any tasks, like we were in our workflow example here, where I was assigned my e-sign steps, I can go to this tasks to do and approvals to do to make sure I don't have anything outstanding. And if I do, I can just click directly into the thread to mark it off. And so there you have it. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to support@wrangle.io. And if you want to read up more about how Wrangle works and how to use it, go to docs.wrangle.io to check out our help center.